Hi everybody, welcome to Watches with Dennis, and today we're going to do something a little fun and a little salty. I call it the 2022 Salty Watch Awards. We're near the end of the year, so I thought, let's take a look at a half dozen categories, award categories if you will, that I've created that kind of celebrate the saltier, less positive side of watches. Because hey, the negativity needs to be covered just like the positivity. There are a lot of really fun, prestigious watch awards that are already out there, so this is going to be just a little bit of fun poking at some of the things that we've seen in 2022. Now, the first award I want to give out is the most pointless watch of 2022. And actually, there were a lot of contenders because in this day and age, watches often functioning more as glorified jewelry than actual tools have complications that don't necessarily need much of anything. And in fact, I'm going to focus another award on the complication side. So just as an overall watch, what was the most pointless watch? And in my opinion, the award needs to go to the Rolex Deep Sea Challenge. I get it on paper. Rolex was looking over at Omega, saw their deep diving watch, and decided, you know what, we can push the boundary a little bit further. And the end result is we end up with a completely pointless watch that is way too thick. It is way too big. It maybe for people with like 9-inch wrists, it will look decent. But beyond that, it didn't really move the needle in any meaningful way. There's no reason to wear the watch. The function of the depth of the watch is beyond where humans will just sort of go and dive. You would use computers at that point anyway. We all know this a lot about dive watches in general, but this, especially given the size and everything, was completely pointless. The only value was to the Rolex brand to say they now had a deeper diving watch than Omega, and the rest of us gave it a bunch of coverage because it's Rolex. And had it been another brand, I doubt it would have gotten much talk. So anyway, that's the first award out of the way. Now, I mentioned we've seen a lot of complications that don't really provide anything. So rather than the most pointless watch, let's talk about the most worthless complication of 2022. And there actually are a number of complications that don't really function all that meaningfully. I know some would probably even argue the moon phase doesn't really mean a lot to anyone. But it still, I think, has something. It's not totally without worth. There might be, I don't know, if you're really into the tides going in and the tides going out, you might have a value for a moon phase. But so to me, the winner is actually two watches, but they do the same thing. So the most worthless complication of 2022 goes to the Omega Chrono Chimes. And that would be the Omega Speedmaster Chrono Chime and the Omega Olympic 1932 Chrono Chime. I like how both of these watches look. I like how both of these watches appear to wear. They sound good. The problem is the complication is worthless. It's like they took the complexity of a minute repeater and then just applied that to reading out a chronograph time snap. So you stop the chronograph and you can push the little audio button and you can see, or more accurately hear, what time it is on the chronograph but not on the watch. And while it's cool from an engineering perspective, I don't think we really have to dive that deep intellectually to understand just why this complication is completely worthless. Who in their right mind needs to be able to hear the time on a chronograph, but not be able to read the watch to tell the regular time? Honestly, if Omega was going to do something along these lines, they would have been better served having a chronograph that also had a minute repeater to tell you the regular time. Who is going to time events in the dark anyway? It doesn't make any sense. The complication is completely and utterly pointless. Let's go to my third Salty Watch Award category. And this one I'm going to call, in quotes, loser. Worst watch loser of 2022. Now, a loser, and I put it in quotes because I'm not trying to be demeaning, it can be taken in a lot of ways, but the way I'm interpreting it is what or who has really lost in 2022? Who's had a bad hand dealt, or perhaps has been placed in a disadvantaged position versus where they started 2022. And so I think the worst watch loser of 2022 has to be Hodinkee. If we're going to point to one aspect that caused them to be a loser, it's the loss of Jack Forrester to Watchbox. Now, they've seen a lot of other turnover in their creative staff. It's raising a lot of concerns amongst watch enthusiasts, but the loss of Jack in particular, I think is very, very telling. It was seen as a major win on the part of Watchbox, but we're not giving like sugar awards here. We're doing salty awards. So Hodinkee, I think, positions itself at the end of 2022 in a far inferior aspect than they were at the start of the year. And a lot of people are really questioning what their watch bona fides are going to be moving forward. Okay, we're halfway through. So what's my fourth salty award going to be? Well, I thought about it and I decided, you know what? I hate waiting. I think we all hate waiting. And obviously, we could insert a bunch of jokes about having to wait to get a watch from a Rolex authorized dealer. But this award actually, as a spoiler, is not going to go to Rolex. I'm going to do the worst release wait of 2022. So I'm focusing very much in on 2022. And I decided to sort of define this as what's been a watch that we've seen announced in 2022 and we still can't get. And I think the obvious answer here has to be the award goes to the, I'm air quote it, colorful Omega Aquaterra collection. That would be both the 38 millimeter, which I think is what most people are interested in, but also the 34 millimeter versions. I went just before starting this video and checked the Omega website, and these are still only wish listable. These were announced, I believe, before Watches and Wonders. They were announced back in the winter, and we've still been waiting, and we still can't get these watches. For a lot of people, these watches, these Aquaterras, are in their top 2022 reveals. But we have to say reveals because, to my knowledge, no one has them. At least not on a broad scale. The public can't get them. You can't buy them. And so I'm flabbergasted that Omega did a reveal on a watch that seemed very positioned to compete with the colorful Stella-esque dials of the Rolex Oyster Perpetuals, and we still can't buy them. In fact, I probably could have gotten an Oyster Perpetual from an AD in the time it took from us waiting from this reveal to this current snapshot in time where we still don't have the Aquaterras. Award number 5, the worst watch brand of 2022. I mean, it's got to be the Brick Watch Company, right? I feel a little bad about it because I only just did a video about Brick Watch Company. And in fact, the information about Brick Watch Company only just recently came out. But I really thought, naively, and on retrospect, incredibly naively, at this point, that we had moved beyond as a society from the movements and the Daniel Wellingtons and, you know, these ideas of really cheaply constructed watches that are being sold at a premium. Little did I know that we would see the same basic thing, except now priced more like Tag Heuer's are. So Brick Watch Company, easily the worst watch brand of 2022. It came out of the gate and immediately stumbled over its price point. Lastly, and probably leastly as well, I'm going to do the award I'm going to call the worst watch everyone but me loves of 2022. So obviously this is going to be the one where people are going to throw shade. It'll probably be at this one in particular. Most of my other ones I think are relatively not controversial. You might debate which one might actually be the worst complication or the most pointless watch. But obviously I'm picking a watch now where everyone seems to be really into it and I just cannot be. So my winner, 2022 Salty Award for the worst watch everyone but me loves, is the Christopher Ward C1 Bel Canto. I do not get it. I kind of do. I kind of get where some of you guys are coming from, but I still don't at the same time. Most of the dial is not dedicated to telling the time. I mean, the top of it reminds me of the worst I see out of Breguet that I don't like. You've got most of the watch face is dedicated to showing an overly elaborate complication that is also, well, not maybe the most worthless complication in the sense that I've already named, the chrono chime, because who needs to tell a chronograph time in the dark? This is not a great complication. It doesn't ring out the hour that it strikes on like you'd think of a clock tower doing. Instead, it just chimes once. So it's a very simple complication, but people are going gaga over it like it's a minute repeater, and it's not. It's not actually that complex. And another thing that adds to my annoyance about this watch is that this complication is not new. It was already out years ago from Meistersinger in their Bell Aura. And you can argue that this is a better designed version of that complication because of how it strikes against the case and maybe it gives a nice sound. If you have not gone and listened to Meistersinger's Bell Aura, go to YouTube and play a video of it. It sounds very nice. It's equally as pointless, but it sounds very nice. And I would also argue that even though it is a single hand watch, and maybe that's why it never really took off, that wouldn't surprise me, I find it easier to read than the C1 Bel Canto, and I think the dial overall is far more attractive. So anyway, there you go. Those are my 2022 Salty Award winners. I would love to know what you guys think. Obviously, some of you are going to have different opinions than me, Please comment those below. What did you guys think was the watch that you all hated, but it seemed like the rest of the world loved? Or what do you think, who was the biggest loser? Was it not Hodinkee? Was there some other entity that really stumbled this year? What do you think about the long waits? Was there another watch that was announced that you're still waiting on that stands out more so than the Aquaterra? I'm really interested in knowing what you guys think. So please comment below regarding those. If you found the video slightly entertaining, please give it a like. It does help the video and the channel out. Likewise, if you want to be notified when I release new videos, there's a subscribe button around here somewhere. Go ahead and click on that, and you'll be notified when I have new videos. And I'm not saying this will be the last video of 2022, but regardless, I'll talk to you all on the next one. Take care, everybody.